I found this strange object at a flea market the other day, and I couldn't quite figure out what it was. It's a wooden bowl with a bullet inside, and the bullet can be moved back and forth. At one end, there's a hole. I tried blowing into it and moving the bullet around, but nothing really happened. It didn't make any particular sound that I could hear. On the shell casing, there's a stamp from 1918, with 2 stars and an A on the side. Someone told me it might be from the Red Army, but I wasn't sure. My first thought was that maybe it's some kind of DIY dog whistle. I mean, I couldn't hear anything, but when I blew into it outside, the neighbor's dog suddenly perked up, and its ears stood straight up. That got me thinking, could it actually be a whistle of some sort, just not working the way I expected? I don't know, but it's definitely intriguing. Any ideas what this thing is? My dad got this from his friend, and we think it's a war trophy from World War II. It's possible it could have come from Italy, but he was in the Merchant Marines and got it toward the end of the war, after the Nazis surrendered. Apparently, they just threw all their stuff in a pile, and he grabbed whatever caught his eye. The knife itself looks old, with some unique markings and a sturdy, well-made feel to it. I've tried looking it up, but I can't quite pinpoint what it is. Do you have any idea what it might be? Based on its weight and appearance, it doesn't look like a weapon, nor does it seem to represent a specific culture immediately. It actually looks like a brass ornamental letter opener, possibly from the mid-19th century and likely Italian. I came across a photo by Tim Page, the famous Vietnam War correspondent, and something in the image caught my eye. In it, a soldier from the 9th Infantry Division near Tan Anh, Vietnam, is holding something in his hand that looks like a light bulb. But that didn't quite add up given the context. I mean, light bulbs weren't exactly something soldiers would be carrying around in the field, right? After diving into some research and reading a lot of Vietnam War writings, I've never encountered anything suggesting soldiers would have light bulbs on hand. Plus, it definitely doesn't look like the bulbs from the Fulton flashlights used during that time. I started to wonder, could it be some sort of pipe? Does anyone know what it is? It's an oil lamp. Traditional oil lamps in Vietnam are often made from materials like brass, clay, or ceramic, and are used for lighting or religious ceremonies. The oil used is typically plant-based, such as coconut oil. Oil lamps are also common during festivals like Tet and hold spiritual significance, symbolizing respect for ancestors and wishing for good fortune. I was metal detecting on a property with some historical significance. It was built around 1812 and even served as the headquarters for a Union general during the Civil War. While I don't think the object I found has anything to do with the Civil War or that specific history, it's definitely intriguing. I unearthed a piece that's about 4 to 5 inches long, maybe 1.5 inches thick. It's quite heavy, almost certainly cast iron, and has a channel-like feature on the top with a lip. The sides of the object are indented a bit, and there's a ridge running along the top and bottom. The bottom is flat, with no visible markings, though it's still quite rusty, so it might be harder to spot anything if it's there. Any idea what it could be? It's an old iron. The handle is missing, but it's definitely a vintage model. Some of these irons had removable handles that could be detached with a switch or button, depending on the manufacturer and model, so the handle might still be somewhere. I found this dagger in a box of my late grandfather's military collection. He always told me that he took it from a fallen enemy soldier during the Vietnam War, but to be honest, the story has changed a few times over the years. He was fighting for America, but I'm not entirely sure what he did during the war or where he was. Every time I ask him about it, The details seem to shift a little, so it's hard to know what's true. The dagger itself is strange. It's not like anything I've ever seen before. The handle is sturdy, and the blade has some markings that I can't quite make out. It's definitely old, but I can't figure out exactly what it is. Is it a military weapon or something else entirely? I've always wondered about it, but after my grandfather passed, I started digging into it more. It's kind of a mystery now, and I'd really like to know what I've got in my hands. Any idea what it could be? This looks very much like a pre-World War II German Navy dagger, with the key difference being the eagle on the pommel. According to my research, this is a Navy dagger with an ivory grip and Damascus blade. It is likely an early Kriegsmarine dagger, manufactured around the 1910 to 1915 period. However, it appears to have been later fitted with a 1938 Third Reich-style eagle and swastika pommel. Given this, I believe this could be also an early 1900s German Navy dagger from the pre-Nazi era, which was not retrofitted with the later Third Reich-style eagle and swastika pommel. I found this elliptical metal object while digging at a site that spans a wide range of history, Native American through the 1800s farm era, right along the Ohio River Valley. The site includes artifacts from both prehistoric Fort Ancient periods and the Civil War. What's intriguing about this piece is that it has raised lines on two sides, which almost look like there are wires underneath the surface, while the other two sides are smooth. Both ends are blunted, making me think it was attached to something at one point. The object doesn't rattle, and there are no internal parts that move, so I don't believe it's some kind of explosive or bomb, even though explosives have been found in the area before. The item is solid metal, not heavy like lead, which gives me a bit of a clue about its composition. It doesn't seem to match anything I've come across in research, but it's light and has these strange grooves. I initially thought it might be related to fishing weights, given the history of the area, but I haven't been able to find an exact match. Any idea what it could be? Yesterday, I noticed something odd near a bus stop in my town. There was a military-looking suitcase strapped very securely to a pole. It was positioned in a way that seemed intentional, and I couldn't figure out what it was. There were no cables across the road, just one cable running up the pole. The way it was fastened so tightly made me wonder what might be inside. I'm still curious if anyone else has seen it or knows what it could be. This is a traffic counter, typically paired with a similar device on the opposite side of the road. It detects and counts vehicles passing by, operating wirelessly and powered by batteries. Its primary purpose is to gather data on traffic volume for statistical analysis and infrastructure improvements, aiding in city planning.